Welcome to the Land Your Bet Sports Betting Show. Looking at the NBA Cup Final here. So just one game on Tuesday, but that lets me run through it a little bit more deeply with you guys. I've got player prop projections, a bet or two that I've already got in here on Monday night as I'm recording this to get ahead of this stuff with you. I do want to take a look at how we did on Monday night because we are sizzling again. Up right now, 3.7 units. I'll talk about that here. I'm going to give a number of you a chance to get into the VIP for 33% off. And I'll talk about why that is in just a second. If that all sounds good to you, go ahead and give that video a like. Let's get right into it. As it stands right now, 5-1 plus 3.7 units. You can see the two bets at the bottom there that are still going on. It's halftime in that the Clippers and Jazz game, which is already over. I believe it's 73-49 or something to that effect right now. So we'll see how those two bets go. Not tracking awesome. Kessler, I believe, at 8 PR. KPJ right now has 1 point despite because Harden has 32 in the first half. And I don't know how much the starters are going to play for the Clippers in the second half. I think KPJ is going to get his in the third quarter. Kessler, I'm not as confident about. But either way, we should be up close to 3, maybe 4. Could be as high as 5 units today on the night for Monday. So we'll feel really, really good about that. That would be probably our second best day of the year, maybe third or fourth. Either way, we are up a good amount, 33.2 units on the season, as you can see. Felt really good about Paul George dimes. This is the best facilitator on the Philadelphia 76ers now. Maxey is not a very good passing point guard. Jarrett Allen, I love the find that we had here. Gave it out in the VIP. Didn't even have it in the video from last night, but started to get into some of the news going around about the Cavs and the Nets, and remembered Jarrett Allen got spurned by this team when he was on the Nets, and they just sort of got rid of him because they wanted to bring in the big three that played 16 games together, KD, Harden, and Kyrie. And also the head coach of this Cavs team is Kenny Atkinson, was also originally the coach, was an interim coach when Steve Nash got fired. And then after that, they just sort of kicked him to the curb, went to the Dubs, now the head coach of the Cavs. So I kind of felt like both those dudes wanted to get a little bit back at the Nets, and they smacked them. Bridges was a great look. We had that look because came out that LaMelo Ball was on a minutes restriction, yet Miles Bridges was still at 13.5 points. He cleared that right after halftime. Basically had 12 at the half, so we felt great about that. And then RJ came through. What a coin respecter, man. He had 13.5 on the rebounds and assists. He ended up with 32 points. I should have laddered him to 30, but happy to take him at 25 plus. So he cashed for us. And then Yabusele, it was a late scratch as a start. He was originally the starter, then he got scratched as that. So he went under. Bad game for him. Andre Drummond had the game of his life as well. So not a bad beat by any means, but I'm not too mad at the read. We'll see what to do with the rotations for Philly moving forward. So I want to help a couple of you get here into the VIP for 33% off. If you're interested, code is up 33 as we're up 33 units, pretty obvious. And there's 6 total codes out there. So the first 6 people to use that code will get 33% off your first month in the VIP access. And I have no plan on stopping. So let's get right into what we've got here for Tuesday's NBA Cup Final. So without further ado, let me get into my first play here. It's not Shai Gilgeous, it's not J-Dub, it's not iHeart, it's not Dame, it's not Giannis. It is all the way down here, and that is Taurean Prince, baby. I am really looking at the value here for Taurean Prince, both at the 4.5 number for his points, as well as the threes, which are priced very, very high right now. If you want it, you can get plus 180 for him to hit 2 threes here on this is Bet365, or you can get the plus 165 on Caesars. There's a lot of good numbers out there for him to hit 2 threes. And I think we're going to be back at the volume that he's seen for most of the season. Taurean Prince is leading the league in 3-point percentage. Keep that in mind. And then he came back and he had a couple of bad games in a row. These 3 right here against the Celtics, the Nets, and the Magic. However, Taurean Prince was sick. It wasn't an injury. It was an illness. And what I think is happening here is that the public perception is that Chris Middleton came back against the Celtics, and that's when Taurean Prince's production started to diminish and go down. But that's not because Chris Middleton came back. It's because Taurean Prince took 1 shot, 2 shots, and 1 shots in the 3 games prior to the Hawks game, right? It's because he was sick. He played 9 minutes in the game against Boston because he had an actual fever and had to come out of the game, asked to come out of the game. And then in the next 2, he was at 18 and 20 minutes, but he didn't take any shots because he was sick, right? And they were trying to get Chris Middleton back into things. This game is about winning, and Taurean Prince is the perfect type of player that you want on the floor against the Thunder. A couple of reasons for that. One, if you look at where the Thunder are weakest, there's only really one place on the floor. 2 places technically. It's the corner, either the corner 3 on either side. They're in the bottom 10 in terms of the amount of threes made against them from the corner, because they are very good at pressuring the ball. and they're not very good against spot ups. This is a la your Miami Heat, a la your Sacramento Kings, team Memphis Grizzlies. These are teams that pressure the ball up top, so they're very good at limiting above the break threes. You can see OKC giving up the second fewest above the break threes in the league. But when it comes to both the corners, you add them both together, or you just take the one where they're giving up the second most points right here in the right corner. Either way, the point is they're going to give up a lot to the spot up. They give up the 7th most points per game to anybody who's a spot up shooter, and they give up a ton in the corner. So those are the kind of players that you want to target against the Thunder, against the Heat, against the Kings, etc. Taurean Prince is that guy. He's that dude. He's shooting 34% of his shots from the corner three, 42% of them from above the break. But the point is most of them are threes, right? The spot up is what he's shooting. He's not shooting pull-up threes. No one's asking him to beat a guy off the dribble and then pull up from deep. That's not his game. That's very few people's game. But his specifically is the spot up and the catch and shoot. That's the type of player you want to target. He's going to get the attempts. That's why I like him in this one. The other aspect of him is his defense, right? This is a very good wing defender. It's one of the main reasons that the Bucks made sure to get Taurean Prince. And now you're going to have him in a game that is full of wing players for the Thunder, where it's J-Dub and it's just all these dudes, right? They're all like the very similar players. Cason Wallace, Lou Dort, obviously SGA. You need guys that can go out there and guard those guys as best as possible. Plus, you're not giving up anything on offense because Taurean Prince is a very good spot-up shooter with the best three-point percentage in the league. So I love him to get. I took him at plus 180 on Bet365. I think the points by themselves are a great bet. This is a guy that I think is going to be getting 20 to 25 minutes, and I think is also going to be shooting 6 to 7 times in this game. So I love him to hit 2 of those if he gets 6 threes. I'll just bring us right to AJ Green next, because it's the same reasons that I love AJ Green that I like Taurean Prince. And AJ Green has been averaging a decent amount of time on the floor, 19 minutes against the Hawks, but then 33 against the Magic with everybody healthy, 22 against the Nets. So anywhere from 20 to like 30 minutes basically. But I think at least we know his floor is about 22 minutes. And in those games, almost all of his shots are threes, right? Now the question is, how many is he going to get? But once again, this is a defense that's going to force things into the corner. AJ Green shooting almost 40% of his shots from the corners, 21% from this corner, 17 from that, and then 56% above the break. But once again, it's a spot-up shooter, and he is not a liability on defense. Now, I'm going to call AJ Green a sneaky good defender, which also just means he's a white guy in the NBA, and he's not a liability on defense. So that's why I like AJ Green to keep doing his thing, because I think the minutes will be there. Once again, you have a guy who needs to you need on the floor for his shooting, because golly, are the Bucks really starving for three-point shooting, and is going to be able to at least defend a guy like Isaiah Joe or Alex Caruso or any of those smaller players that are quick, but he can stay in front of or at least bother their shot. That's going to be AJ Green. And I should have kicked off with this. I'm burying the lead here, but Chris Middleton is questionable, and it looks like he has the same illness that Taurean Prince had that I was just talking about, which is not something that you can play through as easily as maybe like a tight hamstring or something that's a little bit bothering you. If you're just under the weather with a fever, man, then yeah, you're going to need other guys like AJ Green and Taurean Prince to sort of carry the load that Chris Middleton would be carrying if he could play his normal 28 minutes or so. All right, to be clear, so I have Taurean Prince in there as a bet. The next guy I want to look at with you is Giannis, and I am going to be putting this down, I'm sure. It's 11.5 rebounds. I think that's the best play here for Giannis Antetokounmpo. So I think if you can get this anywhere at minus 120 or better, that's a great number for Giannis on the boards. What this is going to come down to is I think it's going to be a pretty big defensive matchup here, as well and as fast as the Bucks have been playing. You can see this total is at like 215, 216 and a half. And it's actually bet up 3 points from where it opened, because there is a lot of a assumption that this Thunder defense is going to give the Bucks a lot of problems. That said, that's why I'm targeting the rebounds more than anything to do with scoring for Giannis. There's a couple things here for Giannis on the boards. One, this Thunder team is 29th in rebounds allowed. They are not a good rebounding team at all. And so if you're a power forward of Giannis's size, that's going to be what this is. It comes down to the matchups. If you look at the matchups inside the box score from the way that they played Giannis last season, he's going to be able to get boards, right? The matchup for him is probably going to be a lot more of him not guarding Isaiah Hartenstein. I don't think Isaiah Hartenstein is guarding him. You're going to have Brolo and Hartenstein going at it. And then when Bobby Portis is on the floor with Giannis, you're going to have him with Hartenstein. Why is that important? One, because Hartenstein's the best rebounder on the other team, so that means Giannis is going to have a better matchup. Two, Hartenstein and Brolo are going to battle each other, take each other out of the play, which we talk about a lot, leaving Giannis a lot more free to get the rebound. Three would be the way he plays on defense is not necessarily like guard Shy or guard J-Dub or guard any of their best offensive players. His job is going to be free safety. It's going to be a lot more of, let me guard a guy who doesn't matter quite as much so that I can then go in and be free safety, help out on the drives from Shai and J-Dub, also help out on the rebounding. Once Brook Lopez and anybody else big that's coming in can handle iHeart. You might even see Taurean Prince on iHeart at times to keep Giannis from having to deal with the biggest guy on the other team, but that's still going to leave him in perfect position to get the rebound off of a lot of these shots from the Thunder. So I like the rebounds more because of the matchup, because that's where the Thunder are weakest, and because of where he's going to be on the floor playing defense. This is a terrible matchup for Dame. Nothing that I would really like to do with it, to be honest. If maybe the assists would be where I would go. You get plus money for 7.5, but man, I mean, this is up there, big time. Like, this is a team that is giving up the fourth fewest assists. It's the top defense in the league. It's really terrifying to take overs against this Thunder squad, as a lot of us learned who ever took points for players on the Rockets that basically like weren't named Amin Thompson. Didn't really work out that great, right? So I think it's going to be the same case here. You look down at what the Thunder are best at limiting. It's everything Dame wants to do. It's pick and roll ball handler stuff. The only thing I'll say is if he's able to get to the free throw line like the free throw merchant that he is, then great. But I don't think he's going to be able to get past the wall of defenders that are waiting for him right around the top of the three-point line, where you're going to see Cason Wallace come in and do a lot of the primary defensive responsibilities on Dame. That'll be Cason Wallace. So I think he's good for minutes, which I'll talk about right now. But everything else, ISO, transition, however you want to do this, off the spot up, anything, off screens, tough to score against this really, really lengthy and rangy defense with a ton of athleticism all over it. So I'm staying away from anything for Dame, to be honest, in this one. And the guy that will be guarding him for probably the majority of the minutes that he's on the floor is Cason Wallace. You look at him in the last few games here, he's up at about at least 30 minutes, and that's been the case for anything to do with the NBA Cup. If I pull up Cason Wallace's Cup game log from the NBA Cup this season so far, just using StatMuse, super simple, I can see that he's playing, about 30 minutes per game, 31 minutes per game. On the season, he's at about 27, I believe, 28. In fact, let me make sure I'm not lying to you. And let me just do this for Cason Wallace. Stats this season. I just want to see his minutes, if I spell season correctly. Yeah, he's at 26.7. So 26.7 minutes, yet when we look at this in the NBA Cup games, 31 minutes per game. So it seems like when they're going to get into the playoffs, this is sort of foreshadowing as well. Seems like they like Cason to step up and sort of stand out as the best defender on this team for them against the primary ball handler on the other squad. And I know that that's what we've seen from him. He defended He defended Jalen Green for the majority of the time. He obviously defended Luka a good amount, but then Kyrie was the majority of his responsibility as well. And that's why he's seen so many minutes in these cup games. This is what they take seriously, like the playoffs. So this is going to be more of a playoff rotation once again for him. I like the rebounds in this situation because if you look at if you take the minutes and filter them so that it's more likely, right? This is what I was saying about advanced filters. If I take the minutes and I bump them up to about even 28, let's say, right, and give him a floor of about 28 minutes, he's gone over in 7 of 11. He's averaging 4.4 rebounds in that situation. Whereas with the points, yeah, he's at 9.5 over an 8 of 11. Actually, that looks good too now that I'm talking about it. I think points and rebounds is probably the best play for him. 11.5 is going to be a great number. Would not be surprised if people kind of tune into this and go, oh, okay, so Cason Wallace is going to continue to play big minutes in big games because of his defense. Then this would be a guy I'd be targeting. I like the rebounds more than the points, to be honest with you. But either way, it's not like the Bucks are that good at defense, to be honest. I just think the possessions might not be as frequent. I don't think it's going to be as fast-paced of a game as some people might want it to be, especially Bucks players and fans probably want it to stay fast. I don't think it's going to stay that fast. So I don't like the possessions for him, but I think the rebounds will be plentiful because it's going to be a defensive game. So I'm going to take Cason Wallace on the boards most likely. 3.5. I want to let a little bit of market pressure get in on this. Nothing's moved yet. Everybody's got the exact same lines. So there doesn't seem to be much of an edge anywhere. I'm going to let that play out. I'll talk about that on the live show tomorrow, 5:30 p.m. Eastern. As we get into a couple more Thunder player looks, I should remind you, we have the live show every day, 5:30 p.m. Eastern. Going to run through that again on Tuesday there and get some of those bets in with you guys. Bring your bets and jump in the comments. We'll go over what you want to look at. Just the one game, so we'll see however long it takes. We'll go through it, but want to follow up on some of the stuff we're talking about in the show here so you can see where we're at with bets like Cason Wallace, for instance, starting tomorrow. But finishing up here, I'm actually not going to be playing anything for any of the top 3 guys right now tonight in terms of SGA, J-Dub, or iHeart. I don't really want to mess with the super, super high props that they have. I mean, 32.5, while Shai is doing crazy things, he's got at least 30 in like 7 of the last 8 or 10, whatever. It's not 32, right? He's at 30 on the season. 33 is going to be a lot. Even if we take this and say he's going to play 36 minutes, which would be something he has not done very often this season, still just a 50% hit rate, because 33 points is a lot of freaking points. And this is a 216 total. So it's not that high in a way that kind of makes me go, I don't know if these dudes are going to get to their averages or not. And these numbers are above their averages on the season. Just because they're going to play a few more minutes doesn't mean that they're going to automatically get those points. We're probably going to see things stay tight, right? Like we've seen a lot of these totals better to the under in the NBA Cup because you get a little bit tighter. It's for a bigger stake. It's for $1 million. It's for the opportunity to win something in the middle of the season. I think it's going to be a big deal. It's going to be more like the playoffs where things tighten up a lot than just, free-flowing, easy-going NBA game with 240 points in it. iHeart is the same concept here. This is a team for the Milwaukee Bucks. If you look at FanDuel Fantasy Pros, which shows you defense versus a position and how well they perform against positions. For centers, if you look at points, the Milwaukee Bucks are limiting centers to the fewest points per game. This is linked in the description of the video, by the way. And they are in the top 8 or so, limiting the rebounds to the center. So that's why this is just, once again, not a great matchup for iHeart. He's going to be amongst the trees with Brolo and Giannis and Bobby. So things are going to be harder to come by for him. We'll consider the double-double, to be honest, if you're going to take an over. But I think he's going to end up being a stay away, if not potentially an under on the PRA as a whole. Don't forget, if you do want to jump into the VIP, get 33% off your first month. 6 codes that are going to go pretty fast. So get in there, use UP33 as the code to get you 33% off. You can see it's wap.com/land-your-bets. Having a good time. Also got plenty of sports betting education in there. So if you want to get better at sports betting, I'm offering one-on-one help and meetings with everybody in the VIP so you can trim some of those bad habits, incorporate some good ones as well, right? All right, hope to see you all on the live show tomorrow, 5:30 p.m. Eastern. And until I do, happy betting.